already spent money erecting the border fence around the port at Calais. We're putting in place the border fence at Coquelles outside the tunnel. The French are sending an extra 120 police. Well, what I would say is that we have to keep our borders secure. The NCA, the National Crime Agency, one of its core tasks is to challenge, to break up and to take to court organised gangs of criminals, whether they're trafficking children or whether they're trafficking migrants. Look, this is very testing, I accept that, because you've got a swarm of people coming across the Mediterranean.
For migrants who have been camped out in Calais to try to hop on board those lorries as they attempt to get across the Channel to Britain.
Who are the Walking Dead? They are the dispossessed, the downtrodden, the beaten and the murdered. They are the disappeared. The zombie is not only a timeless metaphor for the way that the wealthy regard the millions they so ruthlessly exploit, though. They are also a signifier of the mass power that we all have. And recently, the zombie has been used by writers and filmmakers to show how ideology makes monsters of ordinary people, to divide and rule us all. Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead series, which has grown into an undead institution since it began in 2003, has often sought to comment on the thin line between us and them. The latest branch of Kirkman's project is eerily prescient. Having been in development since long before the summer's refugee crisis in Europe, it arrived on screens at a time when political and journalistic rhetoric was disturbingly close to that found in any zombie film. From the moment Fear the Walking Dead lurched onto our screens in late 2015, it was clearly looking to be more than a stopgap for the regular show. Fear does still encompass one of the best pieces of commentary The Walking Dead offers up, which is wrongly labelled as its biggest flaw, giving a route to the seemingly cyclical disintegration of groups, series after series. Throughout the opening episodes, Fear shows how society's power structures lead to an entirely preventable crisis. By stopping life-saving information reaching the mass of ordinary people who they believe should have no control over society, America's elite nail shut their own coffins. Then, our supposed heroes, Travis and Madison, who buy into atomistic "I'm alright Jack" logic, completely recreate these power structures, enabling a military elite to take charge of their community. They trust the army to keep the ragged survivors safe from the ragged horde outside their walls, only to see the military hierarchy regards them as one and the same, a threat to order. Travis and Madison's re-education is not dissimilar to the working-class Tory who recently appeared on British show Question Time. Having voted Conservative in order to give the unemployed and immigrants a good kicking, she was having her tax credits cut by the same government. But Fear the Walking Dead also contextualises this further with three far more interesting characters who, having lived on the perimeter of society, have developed their own survival skills through their life experiences pre-apocalypse. Nick, Madison's junkie son, is regarded as the family nuisance, a social embarrassment rather than someone to be understood, much as society more broadly regards the addicts of downtown LA. This parallel first emerges when Nick tries to warn his mother that the dead are literally eating people alive, and is quickly dismissed because bad things happen there all the time, obviously. Nick's alienation from his family's tedious middle-class existence has pushed him to the very edge of society though, and as such has equipped him to get by. When we see him raid a dead man's wallet and clothes, discarding anything he doesn't need of the private property once thought of as an extension of the man himself, we see him metaphorically cannibalizing a corpse, disregarding the bourgeois morality that encumbers so many others. He is built to survive the post-capitalist apocalypse because he is already living as a zombie. He makes the analogy overt. Victor Strand, who later becomes Nick's mentor, is well suited to the plague for different reasons. Apparently affluent and successful, he is aware of the way to win in a liberal capitalist society, but having fought his way to the top, is also aware of its inherent absurdity, as to really win, you must abandon or destroy any meaningful relationship you have, leaving victory hollow and lonely. Having apparently marginalised himself in a world that he could dominate, but seemingly finds repulsive, he embodies a kind of parody capitalism, not out of some Gordon Gekko-esque fervour for swashbuckling free trade, but out of a nihilistic survivalism, and is therefore willing and able to abandon those tactics when his environment changes. When it becomes clear he cannot survive alone, he becomes accommodating to the group he knows his life will come to depend on. Finally, Daniel, a refugee from El Salvador, who fled the Civil War to raise his family in America. He is not all that he appears. After initially seeming sympathetic, a conversation held with his delirious wife Griselda reveals the role he really played in the Civil War. He was a torturer for the state, a disappearer.
She's not making any sense.
De los desaparecidos,
Es Liza.
esperando para maldecirnos, con sus antorchas, con sus hojas. Hice lo que hice. Amé a quien amé. ¿Qué quieres que haga?
Her brain is swelling.
Arráncame la piel, arráncame la carne poco a poco.
Because he has first-hand experience dealing with the distinction between the public and othered non-people, he knows the distinction is superficial, and therefore realizes that the embattled and ruthless army may not continue to distinguish between the filthy and ragged masses inside and outside their walls for long, as their ideological world begins to fracture. He subsequently unearths the disturbing military junta's contingency plan is simply to indiscriminately euthanize the survivor community en masse, to prevent the horde rising in number, to treat the dead and the living as an equal threat to their way of life. Now consider where we stand. The distinction is beginning to fade. The media and politicians may have done their best to demonise the refugees on our doorstep, but the public's response could not have been clearer. More than a third of people in the UK are now predicted to have directly aided the refugees. The German government have been forced into taking refugees after football clubs and fans led a tidal wave of support for those fleeing war, climate change and economic collapse. In Canada, the 9-year reign of the Islamophobic Conservative Party has crashed to an end in the wake of their discriminatory treatment of Muslim refugees. Across the world, the perception of those outside our walls has shifted, and that's in no small part due to the realisation that their fight is our fight. while Britain's Conservative Conference was still laced with vitriol aimed at unintegrated immigrants who supposedly would dismantle British freedoms from within, the rooftops surrounding the buildings were lined with snipers observing thousands of protesters, citizens hit by cuts to public spending, exercising what is supposedly a basic human right. It's as if they think we are no better than a feral, bloodthirsty swarm. The dead, who stand for billions across the globe, anonymised by their exploitation, have become vessels for a vitriolic mythology that characterises them as a faceless, otherly swarm of the dead. But as a result, they have also become symbols of social resistance for radical filmmakers. They show us that the ones that we should fear are not behind walls at all. The ones to fear are in high-rise castle keeps in the city, milking us for profit even in the apocalypse. If we want to get to them, we must tear down these fences and face them as one.
We are no different to the swarm outside the gates, and now we know it. Who are the Walking Dead? We are the Walking Dead.